Why India don't a good system overall? Hello, welcome back to my channel. So, today we are going to discuss various factors that say why India don't have a good system overall. Why don't we subscribe and ring the notification bell before we get started? That way, you'll never miss another one of our awesome videos. Starting from history itself, the phenomenon of Indian absurdities began in 1947, when Jawaharlal Nehru kept his Deputy Prime Minister and Home Minister, Sardar Patel, out of key decisions concerning Jammu and Kashmir. Even after 75 years of democracy, the country continues to pay the price for this absurdity. His irrational approach to China and national security issues culminated in the 1962 fiasco, which continues to haunt India today. Indira Gandhi's crowning blunder was bringing the military into the sacred grounds of Amritsar's Golden Temple in June 1984. This was followed by Rajiv Gandhi, who had the distinction of not only turning a blind eye during the 1984 Sikh massacre, but also of becoming a senator. This was followed by Rajiv Gandhi, who had the distinction of not only turning a blind eye during the 1984 Sikh massacre, but also of sending unprepared Indian armed forces into Sri Lanka to fight the LTTE. Both he and his mother paid the price for their folly with their lives. Until the end of the 1980s, the ill-conceived license Raj crushed entrepreneurship and enriched the wealthy and linked. When everyone knows that Indira and her future generations have little to do with Gandhi heritage because Gandhi was never Pharaoh's Gandhi, Indira Gandhi's real surname, Indian people have voted for Gandhi's name for over 5 decades. Despite a string of electoral losses, Rahul was promoted to Congress president due to his Gandhi surname. Major migration to cities that were ill-equipped to accommodate such large populations resulted from a lack of planned and concentrated rural growth. And then the rising number of reservations rendered a joke of meritocracy and promoted mediocrity instead. The reasons why India should not have had the reservation outlook. 1. Reservations will only support a small percentage of SCs/STs/OBCs while giving the impression that everybody benefits. The number of SCs, STs, OBCs in India is estimated to be about 22 million. But reserved jobs for them are just a few lakhs. As a result, only a small number of people will be able to take advantage of reservations, and those who do will mostly be from the creamy layer. 2. Reservations have a significant negative impact on the SCs for 2 reasons. A. They serve as psychological crutches for the SCs, making them vulnerable. In other words, the perception is formed among SC youth that they do not need to study or work hard, because they will be admitted or hired even if they do not. B. Reservations serve the political rulers' divide-and-rule strategy by fostering discord between SCs, OBCs and upper castes. By virtue of reservation, an upper caste youth who received 90% in his exams may be denied admissions job, while a SC OBC youth who received 40% may get it. This inevitably causes the former to be distressed. India's huge problems can only be solved by a powerful unified people's movement that will completely transform the country and propel it into the ranks of industrialist nations. However, for that to happen, people must be united, and reservations divide us. SCs must understand that if they remain alone, they will fail in their fight for social justice. They must join hands with the upper caste's enlightened section and fight alongside them. However, as long as reservations exist, this will be difficult. 3. Indian leaders use reservations as a means of securing votes. As a result, the true aim of reservations is to help politicians rather than SCs/OBCs. 4. Instead of helping to destroy the caste system, caste reservations have helped to perpetuate it. Reservations further entrench caste, which is a hierarchical structure that must be abolished if India is to advance. Moving on to the next reason. The nation has paid a high price for a lack of planned and sustained growth of education, medical, and civic facilities to ensure a minimum standard of living for all people. Everyone should have access to education, but overall growth should also be a part of the curriculum. The urgent need is to create a structure in which children are not expected to be showpieces of their hard work by the use of a grading system. Allow them to be inquisitive, ask questions, and pursue subjects that they are passionate about early in their careers. In the learning process, technology can be extremely beneficial. The job appears to be becoming easier with the introduction of audio-visual aids, smartboards, multimedia content, and linked classrooms. Today's students have more opportunities to learn by immersive methods than ever before. It's easier to grasp concepts and remember information. It is past time for India to begin investing in more modernized teaching methods and learning. To begin implementing it at the grassroots level, the government, teachers, and parents must collaborate. In India, everyone evaluates students' abilities based on their grades. It is not unusual to regard a student who receives over 90% as brilliant, while those who receive mediocre grades are regarded as weaklings with no potential prospects. Lack of interest. 90% of curriculum is theoretical, with no opportunity for students to engage in hands-on learning and study. All work and no play. In the Indian education system, year-end results and board exams are extremely important, and not receiving enough marks can lead to mental abuse, embarrassment, and a lack of trust. Criminality has been ingrained in Indian politics, with more than 35% of current legislators boasting of criminal records. Indian legislators become millionaires during their first elected term, even though they come from modest backgrounds. With the exception of a handful, such as the BJP, most major political parties have become family heirlooms, with internal democracy being the most significant casualty. Despite this, the same parties and politicians want to lead the world's largest democracy. Almost all opposition leaders seem to have put their heads in the freezer, because they can't come up with a single argument why voters should vote for them. Their vocal cords have been trapped on the phrase "do not vote for Modi." The latest in a long line of political nonsense is Rahul Gandhi's declaration at a rally in Karnataka, that if he is given 15 minutes to talk in parliament, Mr. Modi will struggle to stand. Despite the fact that communism has collapsed worldwide, we can't use China as an example. It is no longer a strictly communist country. Indian communists continue to live in the Lenin, Stalin, and Chairman Mao era. When an Indian man, woman, or child experiences a serious injury, the country first inquires as to whether the victim is Hindu, Muslim, Dalit, or Saint. The victim's roots determine the level of public indignation expressed by the media, neighborhoods, and politicians. Communities participate in religious processions more out of hatred for others than out of religious beliefs. Still today, some parents lament having a girl child, and some commit female infanticide. In certain parts of the world, women are still treated as second-class citizens. While population growth is a major issue in the country, some religious groups support large families. Many people in the country demand religious and speech freedom without any of the responsibilities or constraints that come with such demands. Under the guise of freedom of speech and thinking, glorifying terrorists, and those who commit acts of violence against the state has become a pastime for some educated youth. Time and time again, lower and higher courts reach opposite conclusions based on the same facts, leading us to wonder how the same statute can be interpreted so differently and turned on its head. Cases drag on in courts for decades, causing some unfortunate defendants to rot in prison for years before being acquitted, while genuine criminals walk free on parole, their cases never coming to a conclusion due to collusion between the judiciary, lawyers, and at times officials. Social activists and their organizations rely on foreign funds, even though it means mocking their own country at the behest of their foreign rulers. If a member of the minority group dies in a communal clash or riot, his family receives millions of rupees from the government, while a career soldier or police officer must pay for his own life insurance and, in some cases, his family must run from pillar to post to even receive his regular pension. People are probably the least thankful as a country to our soldiers, who are taken for granted. So, if this isn't ridiculous, what is? People have a 5,000-year-old heritage that includes knowledge of medicine, astronomy, governance, urban planning, and social norms that were well ahead of their time. Yet still, they lag behind in these areas of life, and are well behind in world rankings. While the rest of the world recognizes and appreciates the complexity and greatness of our Hindu religion, it is a different story within the nation. Hinduism has been forced out of mainstream India due to the country's fascination with a twisted sense of secularism. By design and patronage of previous governments, Islam and Christianity have continued to fill the vacant room. As Hinduism seeks to reclaim some of its lost ground today, an ever-growing army of pseudo-liberals, social activists, and minority leaders lift the twin bogies of secularism and tolerance, ignoring the fact that over 80% of the country's population. And how can someone forget the term corruption? Last but not least, corruption. Corruption is a problem in India that has a wide range of effects on the economy of federal, state, and local government entities. India's economy has been hampered by corruption. According to a study conducted by Transparency International in 2005, more than 62% of Indians have paid a bribe to a public official at some point to get a job done. Another study from 2008 found that about half of Indians had first-hand experience paying bribes or using connections to get services from government agencies. However, their Corruption Perceptions Index rated the country 80th out of 180 in 2019, indicating a gradual decline in people's perceptions of corruption. Excessive legislation, complex tax and licensing systems, various government departments with opaque bureaucracies and arbitrary powers, monopolies of government-controlled agencies on the distribution of certain goods and services, and a lack of transparent laws and processes are all factors that contribute to corruption in India. The extent of corruption and the government's attempts to combat it differ significantly across India. So, that's all for today's show. I will get back to you with another video. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and ring the notification bell so that whenever I will back with another video, you will be notified. Thanks for watching.